So welcome everyone. We'll kick it off in about a minute. We were just discussing that every person on this call, like the three of us that are presenting today, are all boy moms. So we want you to write in if you know what you're having or what you have, send it to us and let us know also where you are in the world. Because I'm in Brooklyn. Nikki, you're in
I'm in Denver.
Denver, and
And
Julianna,
I'm in
LA.
Los Angeles.
So we're thinking about you, and you're getting all of our energy right now. And thank you for doing this. Okay, I guess everybody still needs organization in their life.
I mean, they do, and honestly, now more than ever.
Yeah.
And we're lucky enough to have the resources we get. One of our clients lost their whole house, everything, and they have a baby on the way in about 2 weeks, plus
No.
2 little girls. So we're going to help them move into a rental on Monday, and we got a donation crib, and I'm getting a few more things donated. And my team's actually really excited. It's going to be
Oh,
fun.
Juliana, I may reach out to you because we have a bunch of donations coming from New
Great.
York, LA on Saturday, like Nanit
Okay.
sent us stuff. And so
A lot of my clients have either lost their homes or are still displaced because they're in like right on the line in Brentwood. So it's not even safe for them to be home and they don't know if they'll have a home or not. So it's affected a huge swath of people that like I know very intimately. So we could absolutely use donations. That would be
okay,
wonderful.
cool. I'll follow up with you. Okay, so we have people, boy mom in New York. We have somebody also in Los Angeles sending you so much love. New Jersey, Dallas, Alabama is in the house, Rochester, Atlanta, South Carolina. This is awesome. Well, welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you. I am Lily. I am the founder and CEO of Auggie, and hopefully now that you're a part of our community, you've realized that we are half a community for parents, sharing advice, wisdom, recommendations. But then we also have a marketplace at Auggie.com where we collect all of the product recommendations that you all are sharing and make them shoppable and discoverable for our community. I should say product recommendations and service providers. So Nuture and comes highly recommended from our community, which is why we wanted to bring in Nikki, and I'll let you introduce yourself. And Juliana is an amazing organization professional and has so many tips to share. So I will kick the mic over to Nikki first, and then Juliana, Anna. Oh God, I'm going to call you one or the other. So, and then we have an amazing giveaway from Newton, a $300 mattress, and also just quick shout out to Hearth, which is an amazing digital calendar for your family. Everyone should check out. And thank you for supporting us, Hearth. Okay, so Nikki.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I'm Nikki. I work at Nurture and as the head of brand, and I am also the mom to 2 boys. I'm also pregnant with my 3rd child, about halfway through. So if anyone just hit their 2nd trimester stride, shout out. It feels so much better if you're still in the first. And I actually bought my Nurturing glider. That was the first product I ever bought before I started working at the company, and joined Nurture. And when my oldest was about 7 months old, he's 3.5 now. So I always say I was a customer first, and I also completely understand how overwhelming and exciting it can be to build your first, second, and now 3rd nursery. So really, really excited to be here and excited to dig in.
Thank you, Nikki. I also should say I'm pregnant, so I need this conversation more than anyone. I'm in my first trimester, so if anyone is with me in that difficult time, you can also let me know. And Juliana, why don't you give us your intro?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. I'm Julianna. I first and foremost am a mom. I have a 15-month-old boy named Finn. But I am an organizing professional. I have been organizing for over a decade. I own a company in Los Angeles called Space Camp Organizing. And we really specialize in helping families streamline their spaces. We help them get set up. I feel like organizing is like no one really knew what it was 10 years ago, or like you sort of knew, and now everyone knows, which is amazing. And it really has the power to help ease transitions and to help, I mean, bringing a new baby into the world is one of the most exciting, wonderful, and also difficult and stressful things that you will ever do. and being able to support yourself through systems, through knowing where everything is, through like just feeling the ease and comfort that come from being organized. It has incredible power, and it really helped me when I became a mom. And one of my, greatest passions in life is helping people get set up and get ready for this amazing thing to happen. So, and then if you're having, if you already have children, being able to figure out how to set up for the next one and how to move all the clothes around and all that. So we're going to dig into all of that. So excited. It is a big logistical issue, especially when you're, tired and low on time. So we can talk about all that. And please
Potentially
ask
tight on
questions.
space.
Oh my God. Yeah. And space. There's so many things to dig into. So I'm excited to get started, but please ask all of your organizing questions. I am here to support you, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we can do Q&A at the end, but also, yes, of course, feel free to drop questions into the chat. Okay, let's kick it off. What are key things to keep in mind when starting to set up a nursery? Like, where do you even start, ladies?
So I can kick this off. I would recommend starting with your core furniture pieces. And you can always add in wallpaper, paint, decor later, but first figure out what you're going to need. And these are pieces that if you're like on your first can live on through your kids. I always say I'm not a fan of a dedicated changing table. I think there's so many dressers out there. We make them, many companies make them where you can get a changing topper. A lot of people also used to like to use the first drawers for a lot of like the diapers and the changing accessories if they don't want everything out in the open. But I say buy a dresser that can either grow with your child, that you can move into a guest room or into your room. Invest in pieces that you like and that are durable, but don't feel like you have to get anything dedicated baby. And then so I'd start with your core furniture pieces, and also maybe thinking beyond like the dresser, crib, and glider. Also thinking about, do you want to have a space in the baby's room where you can sleep? I know, for example, for me, having a day bed for my second child's room was a huge game changer, because we didn't have any help at night, but it allowed my husband to be the night nurse, and then we would take turns. And so we each got solid blocks of sleep. So starting, I think, with those pieces will really then help you add in the accessories. And if you know what gender you're having and you want to do that theme, that's something that you can also change out as you have more kids.
That's really helpful. Juliana, anything specifically to add, I guess, when like setting up in the beginning, like if like I remember when it was like nesting, all I want, that was nesting equaled organization for me. So give us like, where do we start when it comes to organization?
Totally. And so the key principle of organization is that everything should have a home. And I know that can seem a little overwhelming because you're like, well, I have like a thousand things that need to go like be put away. But if you can think of categories, and this is actually really helpful when you're building your registry or building the list of things that you need, because they do come in categories, and you can just keep those same categories. So like diapering, feeding, clothing, all that kind of stuff. Think of those as major categories you want to store together, and then every item needs to have a home. So that's number one. And that's a really nice way also then, if you're a little bit on the fence about what furniture you need or what size dresser you need, for example, if you're like, okay, well, here are all the categories, and I would just get a pad of paper and write it down. Like, I need to have my diapering stuff, my clothes, this, all in a dresser because I maybe don't have a closet, or think about your available space that you're going to be using. You need to then probably get a bigger dresser than you might have if you only needed one or two categories in there. So kind of thinking through before you buy anything, before you start, of what are your basic needs? What do you need to store? And keeping like items together is the first thing. And then the next thing from there on is, where are you going to use certain items? So when you're starting to place things, right? When you're like, okay, let's see what should go where. Well, you want to try to have it within easy reach of where you're going to use it the most. And I like to think about like eye level, not having to like reach up too high, not having to reach down too low. That's where your high touch items go. So that's where things that you're using every single day, multiple times a day. So diapering probably should be right in the top drawer or on top of the dresser where you're going to be diapering your baby. Then clothes you're using the most should be maybe in the next drawer down, so that's easy to reach. And then you can go ahead and put things you're going to use a little bit less, like clothes to grow into, extras of things a little higher or a little lower. So I try to think about like how to not use all of your energy just looking for stuff, because already your energy is so precious, especially when you have a new baby. So it's just like really thinking through those things before you start organizing can do most of the work for you. And yeah, those are my, let me see, I have some notes here. Um, oh, and one other thing to think about, and this goes along with furniture as well, just when you're choosing pieces, I think choosing things that are going to like be with you in the long run can be super helpful. And I think, you know, once your baby is moving around like mine is and trying to get into everything, having drawers, having things that you can like even potentially put baby locks on later if you want, can help things feel just a little bit more put away. I know a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm just going to have everything out on shelves, which can work for the first few months or the first year. But thinking through in the future, you know, just how you're going to want things can really ease your mind, and then make the transition once you have your kid and you're like, oh, I need to move clothes around. Oh, we need different diapers. Oh, we need this and this. It just like turns you into autopilot, and you can actually just function so well, and enjoy your child, which is a huge benefit.
And I guess for your clients, like, is it okay to have a system that's like the 0 to 6 month system with the idea that like you will then reorganize?
Always. So
Okay.
one thing I tell people is like the bones of the system can stay intact, right? So it's like, okay, this maybe the top drawer is diapering, but things that you need in there are going to change. Like the diaper size is going to change as your baby grows, right? Or maybe you're going to need a different kind of ointment, or maybe you're going to need some different accessories. So the containers or the space will stay, but what you put in it can change around, and you should be able to feel like you can move things around and be flexible with that as your needs change. And same goes for clothes. So I, you know, when I was pregnant and I set up my son's nursery, um, the top row of clothes was all newborn and 0 to 3, right? And I had it organized by type. So I had like onesies, sleepers, pants, tops, socks, stuff like that. And then as he got bigger, so here's the key thing you have to do. You need to have some sort of space, whether it's like a basket or a bin or a drawer, for outgrown clothes, and like write outgrown clothes on it or label it. And as soon as you pull something out and you realize it's too small, as long as it's clean, throw it in that bin. Just get it out of your drawer, because I know we've all been there where it's like you look at the same thing over and over and over again. You're like, wait, not that. That's too small. Wait, not that. That's too big. It's so nice when everything in one drawer fits your kid.
Yes.
And as soon as it's too small, throw it in the outgrown clothes. Once that gets full, then you can decide what you want to pack away, what you might want to pass on to a friend or a neighbor or a family member, whatever. But it's just like out of your brain, because we already have too much to think about. And so, yeah, like 0 to 6 for you. So for both of you, what I would do is like all of the newborn and 0 to 3, I would have organized by type, either in rows or in like little felt bins. And if people have questions about products, I'm happy to just DM
Yeah,
me on
I
Instagram,
do.
happy to send stuff. Um, and then you can have the next size up somewhere convenient, right? So you could have 3 to 6, whatever the next size up is, you can have that in the drawer below. You could have it in bins above, labeled, whatever. And then it's like, okay, you've taken a few pairs of pants out as they've gotten too small, put them in the outgrown clothes bin. If you're noticing you have some extra space, that's when you can start pulling up from the next size, if that makes sense. Or if you feel like your kid has a growth spurt and you just need to kind of like redo it, take an hour, take everything out, pack that all away in outgrown clothes, and then move the next size up.
I think like one thing that gave me a lot of anxiety, because like you see on Instagram, like, oh, do you need the blackout shades? Do you need like the noise machine cranked up? So like what would be the best advice from both of you to like how to create a calming and friendly environment while also still making it like functional?
For me, I feel like in the first few months, it's really more about you and the caregivers of your baby than about the baby themselves. And what I mean by that is like if I felt calm and like I had everything I needed around me, it was easier for me, for example, to transition my baby from rocking and falling and feeding to the crib. So I would really suggest having like a feeding cart next to your chair that you're going to
Yeah.
be feeding your baby in. I love to watch the housewives while I nurse. So I have like a little side table with my iPad up, and our gliders and mini gliders come with like a charging port in the chair. So like my phone was always charged if I needed it. But then I would also have towels for spit up and like a little cart of what I needed if I was pumping, like my pump parts. And that just made me calmer. And then I felt more comfortable and enjoyed, getting my babies to sleep and then could easily transfer them into the crib. I also feel like if you are going to go for a power glider,
What
definitely.
is a power glider?
So a power glider, great question, Lily.
Yeah.
So we have like a lot of different kinds of gliders out there, right? There's the ones that just glide back and forth and maybe swivel. There's some that have a footrest that's operated by a mechanical lever. And then there's the power glider, which I would say is probably the most expensive, but also probably the most popular right now option. It needs to be connected to a power source. But it has a smooth recline. And so like, for example, our power gliders go almost all the way back. So you're almost fully reclined, almost like a bed, and your feet, the footrests come up. Ours also come with like an adjustable headrest and a power lumbar support, which I felt to be really helpful when I was nursing in particular. But that option, usually power gliders have like a smoother recline and a quieter recline. And that was one thing I was gonna say is when you're buying yours, look for the reviews and make sure that the recline process is quiet, because then when you're going back to the upright position, you're less likely to wake baby in the process. So that would be my tip, is like focus on everything that you would need to make your life more comfortable, because you're doing a lot. And that will make it easier for you to create a calm space for your baby. Other tips that I think are helpful is if you're getting a mobile, which are super cute, consider putting that over your changing table and not over the crib. Anything that's really stimulating to the baby is probably like not the best idea, just because we want that space to be really calm, obviously free of any pillows or any type of accessories and blankets for the first 2 years. And then I also really, really rely still on the Hatch sound machine. We use the green light to wake, so the baby like very quickly can determine like, oh, it's time to wake when the sound machine goes off and the light goes green. And now my 3-year-old will say, Mom, the light's green. I'm like, I'm allowed to leave. These are habits that I think we got into pretty early, especially our second time around, and they really have helped promote calm, good sleep.
Cool. And then Juliana, for you, just I guess like what are the organizing essentials for like the easiest of nighttime access?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I loved so much of what you said, Nikki, because I do think that from a more holistic point of view, like not even about, okay, access, but it's just about at the beginning, if you're calm, your baby is more likely to be calm. And like if your atmosphere feels good, you are more likely to make decisions that help soothe your baby, soothe yourself, make all the whole transition better. That's what I found, at least. So I think that like then if you can find what you need, I think like a flip light. I was huge into those for nighttime changes or nighttime feeding, so you don't have to turn all the lights on. It was even like dimmer than my sound machine light that we had. So it's like, oh, you have just a tiny bit of light. You don't
Yes,
really, what'd you
like
say?
that egg light I've
Yeah,
seen.
the egg one that you just flip over and
I'll
it
send a
like,
link.
It's so amazing, and it like lightly just like illuminates just enough to change a diaper, to grab something that you need, and then you turn it over and it turns off right away. Anything that just like makes things feel a little bit more seamless. I'm definitely all about a feeding cart, as long as it's set up though to not be loud, because those metal carts, and if you have like, you know, all your pump parts and stuff on there, just set it up in a way where you feel confident that you can still be quiet, because mine sometimes would clatter around at the beginning and I'd be like, oh my God, that just woke my baby up. That was more stressful than it was worth.
Yeah.
A side table is huge, huge, because you want to stay hydrated. You want to be able to, yeah, watch your show, have everything you need just like as closely situated as possible. Let me look at my, let's see. Oh, also just keeping clutter to a minimum. I think that if you have systems and you have ways to put things away, if clutter is activating to you, for me it is. Like I really love the feeling when any space in my house feels kind of like reset.
To a bunch
And
of
I would
like, I
really take
hear and attend a bunch of meetings where they talk about baby
um
stuff.
and
Hello.
sorry. I just feel like really activated when there's tons of clutter, and I would always try before, especially when I was nervous about how many times Finn would wake up in the middle of the night. I would try to kind of reset his room before. I'd have like nice dim lights. I would make sure everything I needed was out. Like I would get a burp cloth, just have things sort of like nice and organized and put away before the night began. And I really just think that put us on such a better path when I made the plan to do that. And like if you're disorganized and then you can't find a new diaper in the middle of the night, or you can't find a clean onesie, you can't find clean sheets, like the amount of times I've had to change sheets in the middle of the night, if I didn't have a spot for those, that then now my muscle memory just knows where it is without barely having to turn any lights on, I would have created much more of a stressful situation. So I mean, I have been so, even just for myself, I mean, we organize for tons of families, and I believe that it is very helpful, and they tell us that it's very helpful, but doing it for myself with a kid and getting to experience just how those decisions I made at the beginning have served me the entire time since he's been born is, it's just been a domino effect, and I'm deeply grateful for it.
We kind of hit on this, but I am curious, like, what the top organizational tips to keep your nursery not only like functional for the infant stage, but like also as the baby grows. So you mentioned like organizing the clothes and toys based off, or we didn't really get into toys and
I
how
know.
like the best way to organize toys. I think that is maybe where we should start. Um, I did this thing and I'm curious what you think, Juliana, from
Please.
like the beginning where we like rotated toys. It really worked for us because I do not like clutter. We call it like toy shopping. And as my son grew up, he got like so into it as he understood. I would say like starting at like 8, 10 months, like maybe a little later, like the routine started to really stick, but we keep like the majority of the toys in his closet. And then he
Mhm.
gets like a basket and we rotate toys throughout that. And I started it when he was like 3 months old and we do it every Sunday. So I guess just that works in my household because we have the closet in his room. But like, what are those top organizational tips from infant to older?
You hit the nail on the head. I was going to say rotation, rotation, rotation. Like both from a developmental perspective and an organizing perspective, having everything you own out at all times is bad,
Yeah.
because it's not good for your kid's brain. It's not good for your space, and it makes it hard for you to reset. Again, like we were talking about resetting a nursery from like the stuff that you need as a parent before bedtime happens. It also is nice to reset a play space at night or in the morning or whatever you want, so it feels fresh and clean for both yourself, your family, and your kid. And if it takes you more than 5 minutes, I think, to reset a little play space, you probably have too much stuff out.
Yeah.
And so I think having a very edited amount out and having it in bins or on a shelf somewhere that is easily accessible for both your kid and for you to be able to put things away quickly. So it's like, oh, I know this goes here. I know this goes here. I know this goes here. You all can just reset it quickly. That is my number one tip, because I just think that what's actually been amazing is when I first started organizing, I did a lot of playrooms. And parents were so afraid of how mad their kids were going to be when they had fewer toys in there. And it was the opposite. Every single time one of those kids went in and it's like half of their toys are gone, whether they're just put away in the garage or they've been donated, they lit up and they were like, and they would find something that they hadn't seen in days, weeks, months, and they were so happy to play with it. And you know what? They were so happy to have empty space to play in.
Yeah.
And parents were shocked. They were like, I was so sure he was going to be so mad. And I was like, no, they want this. Like they crave this. And I think if you start them early, I think 3 months isn't too early. I think it's perfect because then they're getting used to the fact that like, oh, just because I can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? Or just because I only have 5 toys out and my friend has 50 toys out doesn't mean that I don't have what I need to enjoy my time at home, right? Not that they're like
Definitely.
thinking that in all those words, but I think the sentiment is there. So fewer is better. And that
Yeah.
goes for everything. Same with clothes. Like I think that, you need enough that you don't have to do laundry every single day, if you don't want to, but you really just need enough to kind of like get you through that phase and to enjoy if you like dressing your kid up and then move on to the next phase. And so it's like the more stuff you have, the more you have to take care of. So I think finding that balance for yourself of what the right amount of stuff is, not too little, not too much, and then practicing feeling comfortable in that is a huge step towards just, enjoying. Also, in terms of developmental toys, I do a similar thing with toys that I do with clothes. Like I have toys that are a little bit too advanced for him, packed away in our storage space, which is our garage. And then if things get too small for him, I have a toy basket in his room that like, oh, a rattle that he's really not into anymore. I just throw it in there. And once
Yeah.
that gets full, I start doing like a
Like a
a
swap.
whole swap out. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we don't have a closet. I really wish I did have a closet for toy swap. I have to do it more like monthly because I have to go get the bins out of the garage.
Yeah.
I'm working on that now, and he already has too many toys out. I'm
I
literally
will
gonna do it today.
Yeah, I will say to your point, like my son, like it's as if a toy is new sometimes when he pulls one out from the closet. It's crazy. And his attention span has definitely like is longer with playing with toys. Yeah.
Well,
So
you
I
notice when you travel too, if you've traveled with your
yeah,
kids,
they
like,
don't need a
you
ton.
bring like 3 or 4 things
Yeah.
and they're fixated on them and they're so happy. And he has
Yeah.
like 4 books and 4 toys. At
Yeah.
home, he has 40 books and 40 toys. He's just as happy when we're traveling. So he doesn't need that much stuff out. And I also just think it's good training. So later you don't feel inundated when you have like a 10-year-old who wants to have 1,000 tiny things. So
Yeah. And then I guess Nikki from the nurture. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say like from the nurturing perspective, like are there furniture pieces you can get that actually do grow up with your kids?
Yeah, so I was gonna say, and I don't know, Lily and Juliana, how you feel, but I also feel like they don't need that much in the beginning. Like I remember with my first, we had to have flashcards in his face and books and all these things. And I don't think it made a difference. And then with my second, I just didn't have that luxury. So he was in the wrap a lot or on the playmat a lot, and he did great. And he's doing great, guys. He's just turned 2. I don't think it changed, his cognitive abilities whatsoever. And I felt that the second time around, and even the third, even more so, like what they need in the beginning is so minimal. The number one thing I think we bought that is worth it, and we sell one, is a padded play mat. So we also have like the play gym, but Nurture and has a padded play mat that's pretty comfortable. And what I like about it is that I can sit on there. So when I had infants, they were, doing tummy time on the play mat. It's also made of wipeable vegan leather, which I would recommend getting something with a super wipeable surface. And I like the wipeability more than something that can be washed, just because you get more spit ups every day and you don't want to do the wash every day. So getting something that's easily cleanable. And so it started as their tummy time mat. Then it became their mat for like when they were starting to walk. And now, I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. It's their tumbling mat.
Oh yeah, mine, I have it right here and mine's like flipping on his daily. Like
Like, and it's great because you didn't, it's the one thing, you didn't put in the toy closet. Like, I feel like it's something that's really lasted me. And I feel like with toys, my biggest recommendation is, yeah, I mean, let people buy them for you. But until you know your kid and what they gravitate towards, for example, I have 2 boys, and everyone when I had a boy was like, get ready to be, truck city. And we have lots of friends that have trucks all over their house. Our kids don't like trucks that much. They love guitars. So our house is littered with toy guitars. And I'm glad that we didn't invest in, like putting stock in the Hess company, because it's not what has done it for our family. So yeah, like don't feel that pressure. And I feel like you do, especially with the first, if many of you are on your first kid, to get all the toys.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think like this is not triggering for me, but like I have a nursery that I designed that I love for my first, and now with the second, like space is tighter and I don't know what I'm gonna do. So like we have a question here to talk about top organizational tips when it comes, or like baby proving in your nursery, but selfishly I'm gonna skip to the next question for now because I have a feeling it will resonate. And just like, how do you make the most out of a smaller nursery space? And like, I see on Instagram, people turn these like closets into beautiful nurseries. So like, how do you do that?
I could chime in from the furniture standpoint, and then maybe Julianna, you could help us from an organization standpoint. I would say that once again, like it's not the baby that needs much, it's you. So for me, for example, having a high quality glider changed my life in terms of like my back pain, and even honestly how well maybe be nursed. And then like when he was sick, being able to sleep in there when needed before we got our day bed. So, but a lot of times like those fancy gliders and the power, definitely our power recliners are big. And I would rather sacrifice space for something that brings me comfort, where I, was willing to scale back, for example, is getting a smaller dresser. And most companies, including ours, make some in 4 drawers, some in 8 drawers. So you have a big wide array there. But I would say just like keeping everything to the basics, and then focusing on organizing it so that it feels accessible and convenient, and then adding decor. Like you can paint a wall and it changes the entire wall, or add a pop of wallpaper somewhere. And so really leaning into that and not feeling like you're sacrificing, but that you're making the most of what you have, I think is great. The other thing I would say is, for example, if you liked that daybed idea, but you don't have space for one, feel free to like buy a mattress. If you feel like there's another room you could put it in, or for us, we're moving our boys in together, and we're moving our daybed down to the guest room, which I know not everyone has that. We're in Denver, we're not in like a big city. So, but that's something that we thought of too, is that we might have bought something that was initially used in a nursery, but that we knew was gonna be moved out. And we bought furniture that we liked, that wasn't just feeling like it was a nursery piece.
Yeah.
That actually
I love that.
room in the house. So yeah. Cool.
My top tip, those are, I think I 100% agree, because I'll get, again, like being organized is all about sustainability and about making decisions that hopefully are going to last you for a long time. So you're not just like redoing everything over and over again. So, in terms of where you look for more space in small spaces, I want you to look up and down, right? I want you to be like, so for example, my nursery is the smaller bedroom in our house. We have 2 bedrooms, and it's where my husband's closet is, and it's also where our primary bathroom is. So I had to kind of section off this very small space. It's probably like 6 feet by 10 feet. It's very small, and there's no closet for him. And so I was like, okay, first of all, I did start with furniture, and I was like, what are my essential pieces? I need a comfortable, I do have a power recliner, and I thank the Lord every day that I had that, because it has saved me, because I've slept in it so many times. So I will say that was amazing. But I picked the smallest one I could find, and then a crib, and that was it. And then I built this IKEA packs that's open that we just wallpapered the inside of it so it looked more finished. And that's his closet and his changing table and his drawers, his laundry basket, everything is in that one piece because that's all I had. And
Yeah.
and actually sometimes when you have a small space, you can be more creative because you're like, okay, here are my boundaries. What am I going to do with it? And we really use up. So like all his book storage is on the wall. It's all those narrow sort of magazine ones. Those are
Mhm.
excellent. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them at IKEA. So using the walls as much as possible. Again, our IKEA unit goes up and down. So I have things stored up high that I use every single day, and that really works well for us. Another option is storing stuff under the crib. So there are cribs that have drawers already built in. If you know that you have enough room for
Yeah.
that, I didn't even have room to pull out drawers, so I didn't go that route. But if you have a little bit of room, that can be enormously helpful, especially for bulky things like sheets, mattress pads, blankets, all that kind of stuff. Or you can put a underbed basket or bin. Those are really easy to get at lots of different stores. And that's a great way to use some extra space. And another thing that we did we just set up a nursery recently for a very small room that was shared with adult items as well. And we got a side table that has storage inside. And what's cool about it, and I'll find the link for this and I can put it on my Instagram. You can turn the top and it's either a table or you can turn it over and it can be a bench for extra seating.
Oh.
And so looking just for options that are going to be so multi-use that all the extra diapers, for example, can go in there. If you have grandma or grandpa coming and you need another place for them to sit, they can sit there, but you can also use it for your water and for your iPad and for your nursing supplies. So just trying to like be strategic can be very helpful.
Someone just wrote in that she's a first-time mom. She's in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. What
Hmm.
would you have in your main room if you're planning to have your baby sleep there first versus the actual nursery? And are you bringing your baby at night into the other room to do changes?
That's a great question. I think it depends on, and I'll answer it. And Nikki, you have 2 kids, so you tell me if you have any better ideas. For me, I know that a lot of people, if they have a very big place, they put a changing station in their room and they put one in the nursery. I chose not to do that because we are just so limited with space. My house is just barely over 1,000 square feet. And so I kept all the changing in his room, and but I realized that like I was making that sacrifice of like, okay, I'm gonna have to walk these like 12 steps there to change them in the middle of the night if I have to. And honestly, our place is so small, I ended up just keeping him he slept in our room like for a little bit, and then I put him in his room because I'm
Yeah.
like, I can hear him even with the monitor off and all the doors closed. Our house is so small, I can hear
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And I was getting myself up to feed him every 2 to 3 hours anyway. That's just what we decided to do because we could barely fit a bassinet in our bedroom. If you have a bigger space though, and it's a lot of, you have to go upstairs or go further, I would definitely say, you know, set up a temporary little changing area in your bedroom, a basket. Baskets are your best friend when you're organizing, and you can just put a few diapers, some wipes, some cream, anything you might need in that little basket, and just use it for that. And you know what? Actually, I forgot about this. When I first brought my baby home, I realized that like 90% of what I had done to organize was going to work, and about 10% wasn't because I was like, oh my God, I need burp cloths in every room of the house.
Every single room.
Every single room. I need pacifiers in every room of the house. I need nipple, shield, like the things that keep you from leaking all over your shirt. I need those in every room of the house. So I had one of my amazing organizer team members go to Target and get me a few rope bins, like those little sweet ones that then now we use all over the house for different things and for toys. And I put basics in every single one. I had like this spray because my nipples just felt awful. Sorry, TMI, but they get really dry and they're painful.
Here
I
for.
had the nipple spray in every single one. I had pacifiers. I had burp cloths. I had some diapers and I just had essentials. And I had one of these in every room of the house. And
Yeah.
it absolutely saved me because I'd had a C-section, and you're not supposed to walk too much and like move around too much. So I know that that's not like a perfect answer, but I think that just thinking through, you know, is it worth it to me to sacrifice some space in my primary bedroom to not have to walk? Starting with those questions and then realizing that once you have your baby, no birth happens the way we think it's going to happen. Who knows how you're going to feel after? And giving yourself the sort of space and grace to change your mind and be like, you know what? I thought that I was going to want this in here and I don't anymore. Or I thought that I was going to be willing to just walk into the baby's room every 3 hours. I absolutely am not willing to do that. So let's come up with another solution and lean on friends, lean on family for that kind of stuff too. I'm
Yeah.
sure everyone here has an organized friend that would be willing to come help you set those baskets up or sort of reorganize what's in your spaces once your baby comes. Um, that, not feeling super rigid about the systems that you had set up before is worth its weight in gold.
Perfect. Nikki, give us your like 2 mom advice. You're about to have 3.
I mean, to be honest, so I think the biggest thing to keep in mind when you come home from the hospital is that this phase is so intense, but it is so temporary. And it really does change within a couple of months. So for me, like the second kid, I actually ended up using the bench at the foot of our bed as our makeshift changing table for those, like, let's say first 6 weeks. I am someone that, thought I was gonna be like hippie mama, and in the end was like, I can't sleep in the same room as my baby. Like they sound like pterodactyls and I cannot sleep. So like I said, my husband was our night nurse and I would basically, he'd bring the baby in, I would nurse, change the baby, get the baby back down and put the baby in their room where my husband was on duty for like the next few hours. So for me, like we had 2 changing stations upstairs, one in our room, which was our makeshift foot of the bed. I did bring our power glider into our room because for me, that was like a huge thing that made my nursing experience better. So I invested in, and it didn't look cute. Like, let me be honest. It was bulky and it was in the middle of our room and it was fine. And then once we stopped having, middle of the night speed so frequently, I actually moved that glider down into my office and I work remotely. And so I was able to nurse throughout the day while I was working, and having like a space in my office was so helpful. And it kind of also brought me out of work, allowed me to nurse. And I know not everyone has that situation, but just kind of to your point, Julianna, about like making your house work for you.
Yeah.
And thinking, so downstairs, for example, we have two floors, and the downstairs I bought like one of those Graco pack and plays, but like the deluxe. So it had like a little changing station up top. And so for the first 3 months for both of our kids, we use that as our changing table and crib, like our main floor crib, because we didn't really want like the baby to be up and down all the time for when we were on the main floor. And that was great because then I could just pack it up and now it's just our travel crib.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that we didn't buy furniture or anything for those first few months, but I do think being creative and crafty makes a difference in convenience, and convenience is everything when you're like still in
Yeah, I think like what people don't necessarily realize is like, or you think you need a changing table, but in reality, any flat surface is a changing table.
A
And
bed, a floor, a couch,
literally
anything.
like they're not rolling yet. Like this is
No.
as immobile. They're little potatoes. Like
No.
just go wherever.
I
Yeah.
want to make sure that we have time for people to answer their questions. Someone
Yeah.
did write in that they are, I'm just trying to scroll to see it, considering a mini fridge in their room because the fridge is downstairs. What are our thoughts on that?
Is that for pumping in the middle of the night?
I think it's for pumping in the middle of the night. I can't find it.
So when my sister had a baby before me, and she lives in Kansas City, so they have a 2-story, slightly larger house than us. I bought her a mini fridge because I was there for like 2 days, and I was like, why are you running up and down the stairs in the middle of the night? She's like, because I got to put the extra milk that I got from the other side with my Haka in the fridge. And I was like, then she couldn't go back to sleep. It was just like, didn't work. And I was like, I think we just got like one of those skincare fridges. They're like
Yeah.
$20 and enough to just like put it in overnight, and then you can deal with it in the morning, because you know, again, it's like, it's $20 worth an additional 30 minutes of sleep every feeding because you're
Yes.
not like stimulating your brain, having to walk downstairs and come up. Yes, 100% it is. And so I would say do that.
Yeah.
I'd also say, to the point about having something in every room, get a lot of water bottles. Like, I mean, I think most of us walk around with these, but having one upstairs, downstairs in the baby's room was so helpful because I don't know about you guys, but I was parched for like
So thirsty.
always. And I saw someone's question too about having a convertible crib. We make one as well. So one that starts as a bassinet and then goes into crib and a toddler bed. And the bassinet version has wheels. I think that's great. Obviously check your door frame, make sure it would go through. But we also did that with our second where we would like wheel the baby into each room. And it was super helpful. It's kind of like the hospital, but it's great. So yeah, totally a fan of those convertible cribs for sure. Ours is called a crib if you
Oh,
want.
I'm gonna look at yours. I didn't even know that, so I'm looking at it. Somebody asked this is a great question, and I did this way too early. I mean, maybe there is no too early, but when would you say is the perfect time frame to start setting up a nursery? When would be too early?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I think you set up more.
So here's my thoughts. Like, I think that I'm all about instincts. And if you're excited to start planning it, even if you're excited to start planning it in the first trimester, go for it, right? At least because again, I as an organizer, I always say start planning before you purchase anything. So write down your ideas, write down your dreams, go on Pinterest and do a mood board, like get excited about it and start thinking about, okay, what are we going to want? What are we going to need? What's our budget? All that kind of stuff. Because then the more time you have, the like maybe someone will offer you something. Maybe you'll find something great on Facebook Marketplace. Like maybe sometimes there's a backup on furniture when you're trying to order and it takes a while to come. So I would say you really can't start too early if you're excited about it. If you're nervous about it, or if you're sort of like wanting to wait till you like get through your anatomy scan because you're a little superstitious, I totally understand that. I didn't start thinking about anything until I was really in the later part of my second trimester. And then I think beginning of third trimester is probably the best time to start doing stuff because you don't want to wait until you're so big and you're so tired, or God forbid you have like high blood pressure or you need to be on bed rest or something like that. You don't want to wait too long to feel organized.
Some things take a while to ship, I feel like.
Totally. But the other thing to remember is you can bring a baby home with very little.
Yeah.
So if you're not inspired to like design a whole nursery and make it all perfect, and you just want to be like, I need to have the stuff I need, that's okay too. I would just make sure like by the time, for me, it was like by the time I was like 34 weeks, I wanted to make sure I had a changing table, I had a crib ready, I had my glider, I had some clean clothes and some clean burp cloths and stuff. Cause then I've known lots of people that have gone into labor early or just had complications and then were scrambling to have the stuff they needed. And I personally wanted to feel prepared so I could enjoy my pregnancy as much as possible. So yeah, that's my advice. But follow your heart.
That is great advice. We have one more question I see, and then we can let people turn off their mics and I mean unmute and ask questions too. I will say one thing: we will announce the giveaway winner probably at like 11:59 Eastern to somebody who's on. So stay tuned for that. We're giving away a $300 crib mattress in value. So someone said, I agree so much in having a low amount of toys and clothing. How do you get family members to understand and accept this concept? Okay, my mom is like her love language is gift giving. And I had to sit her down and be like, this doesn't work for us. And it wouldn't have worked for you when we were growing up either. So you kind of like need to put yourself in my shoes. We don't have an unlimited amount of space, and instead, like if you want to gift him something, like make it an experience that you like, that makes a core memory for both of you. So that's helped ish. I would just say be open and honest. It's not rude to say like, listen, the stuff overwhelms me.
I agree. I think when you have a baby, whether it's your first or your fifth, it's such a great crash course in communication, and particularly with parents, and I think maybe even more with in-laws. And so I would say, for us as well, we had to have that conversation with my parents too. And it was of most of the gifts now we ask for our like music classes or something that's
Yep.
virtual.
Mhm.
We also had a rule that like nothing could light up or have music, which they've mostly abided by. Mostly just because that's annoying. We're not
So
stressed.
annoying.
I just hate it. And I often like my dad lives in town, so if he buys them something, I'll say, "Great, thank you so much. Like I'm giving this back to you. They'll love to play with it at your house."
Yeah. Someone
Obviously,
just said that. She said, I just told my mom if she gets us bulky stuff, it's going to live at her house.
totally. Yeah. And I do think like this is a great opportunity too to say, hey, here's what I actually need and not what you think I need. So like as we talk about kind of building the nursery, thinking about like, oh, like maybe it's a stroller. I know that's a big gift, or maybe it's part like you can do group gifts now on baby lists. Like maybe it's part of your crib or part of your glider. But like being really honest and thank you so much for your desire to help. Like, here's some ways you can help us. I know for our third, like I said, we never had a night nurse. And this time, like, we're gonna say to my husband's parents, hey, you don't have to get us anything if you want to, like, please contribute towards this for a few weeks.
Yep.
So it's kind of awkward, I think, especially for your first. But I think people will get it. And if they don't, that's on them, not on you.
Yeah, 100% agree. If anyone wants to unmute and ask a question, we are here for it. If not, I'll give a second, but I do see another question in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to go into this one. Tips on how to separate storage for clothes for the first kid who's 2 years old and the new baby so they aren't getting mixed. So Juliana, I think that's for you.
Oh, I would say, I mean, separate storage spaces for them. So even if they're sharing a room, if they can have their own drawers, their own dressers or their own shelves in the closet, their own hanging bars, whatever it is, that's the first step. Second step is to label. If you do not have a label maker, get on Amazon, go to Target and get yourself even a super inexpensive label maker because it will save you. And I think that if you can just label the insides of your drawers, that will be huge. You also can label the insides of clothing. Like there's the write-on labels for daycare. There are, if you have a P-Touch, there actually is like iron-on for kids. There's lots of things you can do to just remind your brain, even if you think you're going to remember what belongs to who. And but I would say like, oh, another thing, if they're sharing a closet, you could have different colored hangers for them. I think there's a lot of things you could do, separate loads of laundry for each kid. So we try to do that in our house anyway. So it's like baby laundry, adult laundry. We use the same like non-toxic laundry detergent for everyone, but just for folding purposes, it makes such a big difference just to like have all of one person's stuff together. So you could have, divided hampers. There's lots of ways just to keep it as separate as possible so you're not constantly trying to unwind a super tightly wound knot, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I saw a question that now I can't find that, and thank you for making this chat so active. Oh, here's one. 1-bedroom apartment advice, please. So just Jessica, for you, does that mean that you'll be like you're planning to share a room with the baby, or will you put them in like the living room? Let us know, because I think that will. Okay.
I'll jump in just now, just because I think we're create as like divided spaces as much as humanly possible, right? So it's like even if you're sharing a bedroom with your baby, if you can carve out a closet or a corner where it's like this is the baby's area, this is where, or even if you're sharing a dresser with the baby where it's like you give the baby this drawer and this drawer is yours, as much as you can kind of divide things and have homes for each item. And it's like, this is the baby area. This is the baby stuff. This is my stuff. This is my area. That will help you and your family have a sense of autonomy, because it's like, as an adult, you still need your own space. Just because a baby's coming into your life doesn't mean that you don't have needs. And so keeping things as separate as possible, even if you don't have a separate room, you could even potentially put a divider up. You could put a curtain up. You could do something to visually make it look separate, and then functionally make it separate so you have your own space still, that is going to go such a long way towards being organized and your emotional well-being in your space.
This is gonna last question we're gonna answer, and then we'll switch gears to the giveaway. But with twins, do you recommend that the cribs don't touch at all, or is it all right if one side of the crib touches the other?
I think that, yeah, from like a safety standpoint, especially in the beginning, you should be fine. They're not super mobile. Make sure that your crib is JPMA certified. That's really important. They're like the gold standard when it comes to safe sleep. Make sure that your crib sheets fit really well, that there's no like loose pieces, and that of course you don't have bumpers, pillows, blankets, or anything, or like a DACA tot or anything like that in the crib. But with those, and obviously don't put the babies in the same crib, but assuming that they're in separate cribs, in the cribs, I think you're totally fine. Also really, really recommend getting a humidifier, keeping like strong circulation of the air in the nursery space, not having it be too hot. Those are all tips that I think are essential for a safe sleep.
Boom. All right, you guys, this was amazing. Thank you so much. And we had so many people join. I'm going to share the giveaway winner in 1 second. What I will say is if you are in LA or if you know people who are affected in LA, please send me a message in the Auggie app because we are sending care packages out on Saturday and we really want to send them directly to people who need. Nanit sent us a bunch of product, Triple Pace. So we have really great things to be able to send. And now the giveaway winner is, oh God, Marianne, I lost it. So if you're here, can you help me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I've like, okay, so I apologize if I'm butchering this name, but Rhiannon Shiloh, you were randomly chosen from the attendee list. Thank you for coming and for staying on till the end. We will follow up with your code to claim your Newton mattress.
Yay! And Nuture mattresses are amazing and 100% breathable. Definitely check out Hearth if your family needs digital organization in their household. Newton for crib mattresses, Nurture and for gliders, cribs, play mats, and so much more. I'm literally going to go Google the crib on wheels right now. And of course, Julianna, do you do virtuals?
So we have an online course, and that is amazing to teach everyone all of our like tips for how to get organized. It's how I actually train my team. And we are on Instagram, and I love to answer questions and to chat with people there. So those are the ways you can get in touch with us. Or if you live in Los Angeles, you can hire us to come organize for you.
Perfect. And we will follow up with all of this information in a DM. So I just saw the question. Can you write that in the chat? The products mentioned today, promo codes that we have, and information on everyone who spoke today will be sent. Thank you so much, everyone. And we will talk soon.
Thank
Thank you. It's so much fun.
Bye.
Guys.